Welcome to Behind the Story, where we learn the story behind your favorite story. I'm Lisa Renee from the Collab Press, and I'm a sweet and clean romance author.
You are not. And I'm Naomi Craig. I write historical fiction and Bible times. Sorry, people might think we're telling the truth. No, I'm really Lisa Renee.
And I'm really Naomi, but you probably can see that on our camera.
Okay.
That's true. Anyway, we're Behind the Story, and we bring you the story behind your favorite stories or your next favorite books. And we'd love for you to follow us, get some more of our silliness, and subscribe so you hear about the next great author we have on. And we usually include freebies.
Yes, I'm very excited about our recording today. We've got Julie Christianson. I've been asking her, nagging her for quite a while to come onto the show. I met her through Instagram, discovered her there, and just absolutely love her books. So wanted to pick her brains, wanted her to come on. So now she's got a giveaway coming up. What's that, Naomi?
It's a digital copy of her latest release. And then let me get the name correct. The Time I Kissed the Groomsman Grump. Try saying that 5 times fast. So it's digital. And we'd love it's a simple giveaway. It's through King Sumo. The link is in the show notes. And all you have to do is give us your email address so we can get a hold of you if you're the winner.
Excellent. Before we get onto that interview, let's just a quick catch up. Naomi, what have you been working on?
Well, I finally got done with And Their Numbers Grew first draft. And then our good friend Donna Elaine compiled it all into one document and sent it off to you lovely readers for critique. And I actually got started on doing audio for on Desolate Heights, my reader promo. So I'm excited about that, and I'm looking forward to both of those taking off and just kind of having a creative brain break, I guess, kind of moving into the editing and a different way to use creativity through my acting training with reading out loud and stuff. So super excited.
Excellent.
How about you?
Well, that sounds really good. And I hope you, end up, once you've nailed your one, do it professionally for other authors. So follow Naomi if you want to. I think she would be a great narrator. So I've also, when you talk about that, I remember, oh, yes, I need to get onto some of my audio because I'm doing some AI for some of my books. And but I do have narrated ones out. I've got a free novella, Fake Engagement Mistake on my website. I'll have the link in the show notes for anyone who wants the professional narrated one by a LA actress. She does a great job. But yeah, so I've been working on, I just released a Trinity Lakes romance. It's a Christian romance series with like 7 other authors, and I'm book 3. So that came out on the 25th of April.
Congratulations.
So that's really good. And now I'm working on a small town rom-com novella. So I've got The Bachelorettes of Clear Creek, and I got book 3 I need to work on. So I'm going back to Secret Identity. So that'll be fun because my last series I did a fake identity trope, and that was a lot of fun. So that makes for some awkward moments and when they nearly get caught out. So yeah, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, we kind of chatted about that with our critique group about some of the random situations. So I'm sure we go way over the top than what you'll actually use, but it's always fun to tell you what you should do.
Yeah,
and then we're seriously disappointed if it's not in there. No, I'm just kidding.
I should have one of those books where it's like choose your
own adventure.
I think that would be fun. Okay, well, we'll bring on our guest today, Julie Christianson. She writes sweet romantic comedies, but only when she's not reading them. After where she worked at a library and it was closed in 2020, she decided to try her hand at penning her own small town rom-coms. Her goal is to write books that make you laugh out loud, fall in love, and live happily ever after. Julie, welcome to Behind the Story.
Thanks for having me. I just am so excited to be here with you.
So for those who aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about you and what you write.
So, my name is Julie, and I'm a wife and a mom and a dog lover. I have a bunch of rescue dogs, and I write sweet, small town romantic comedies. And I have one set in Oregon so far in a fictitious town called Apple Valley, Oregon. And I'm working on one now in a small town fictitious in the Adirondack Mountains of New York. And that's what I've been working on.
Excellent. And your latest book, That Time I Kissed the Groomsman Grump, is a
Yes.
grumpy sunshine, mother's best friend, standalone romantic comedy in the Time of Your Life series. Each book has crackling chemistry and sizzling kisses, but the romance remains closed door. Congratulations. Tell us, what's the story behind this story?
So my husband actually grew up in a small town in the Adirondack Mountains on a lake, and my in-laws, his sisters and parents and aunts and uncles and cousins all still live there. And so when I was starting to write sweet romance, sweet rom-com, I wanted to do a novella, a reader magnet, something that I could give away in a newsletter. And I decided to set it in that town because it was someplace that I had visited often, other than where I actually lived. And so I wrote it was a novella, had that out. And then one of the characters, the couple, there was a couple in the novella that I felt like they needed to have their own story. So the original book, it's called The Time I Kissed My Brother's Best Friend, is the precursor, and it sort of sets the stage because when they're going to get married, it's their siblings who are the best man and the maid of honor, and they're the ones that I have the full story that I'm so excited to have out there. I just fell for them and really wanted to tell their story. So
Yeah, I see it's doing very well on the free store, your magnet, That Time I Kissed the Brother's Best Friend. So that was a smaller novella, and then you expanded it and then re-released it in Christmas time, didn't you, just before Christmas?
I did, yes, exactly.
And you got a little Christmas hat on and everything like that.
Yeah, because it's a Christmas in July story. So she goes back, the main character in that goes back to her hometown in July, but they're going to be celebrating Christmas. So it's a mashup of Christmas and 4th of July in this small town on a lake. It's really fun.
So it had no connection to your Apple Valley series. It was just a novella you were using as a subscriber magnet.
Well, it ended up with connections because they're all cousins with the people that live with the cousins that live in Apple Valley. So they're actually all interconnected now, which I really love. And I have multiple plans for different series that are going to all be kind of a little crossover. So
yeah, that's very smart. It's good to, have the characters come in and out, and even though it's a new town. Yeah. So that's awesome. Well done. Can I just clarify?
Yeah, my dog just opened the door.
Yeah.
I have a dog who can open doors. She's magical.
Yes, I've seen your photos of your
Oh my
dogs.
gosh.
So you've got how many dogs do you have? You said you got some rescue dogs, is that right?
I do. Yes, we have currently we have 2 rescue dogs. We had 3, we just lost one in March. But we work with the Southern California Labrador Retriever Rescue, and we've adopted several dogs from them. The 2 that we have right now are from there. And
she's gorgeous. Is she a girl or?
She's a girl. We have had all girls so far. We've had 4 dogs. We have 2 currently, but we've had 4 from them, and just love them to pieces. And they're very spoiled.
Right. Yes. Naomi's, I think she's got a rescue dog as well. What's your dog called, Naomi?
Freeway. He was rescued near a freeway. He's pretty crazy.
The one who just walked in our bedroom door, she was actually right off the freeway in a bush. The mother had a litter and it buried them in the bushes, and the retriever rescue came and found them. And it was so heartbreaking, but ended up with a happy story because they all ended up in good homes. So
oh
I just wanted to clarify as well, you getting back to your story, this one, you said the romance remains closed door. Now I've read your stories, they're very clean, and just sweet kisses or whatever, perhaps in a couple of times or something. So for our viewers that might not understand what the closed door, because often you have relationships where they're getting married or they're married or whatever. So what's the situation with your latest one?
So they're getting married, there are some people that have been starting to use closed door because I guess they just feel like it's a more general term than clean and sweet. I liked to use the term sweet, but then sweet was being used sometimes by some steamy authors who were saying, my characters are sweet, they're nice people. So I think closed door, some people were starting to use that for their marketing. So I was trying that out to see how that works. But my books are really clean. I don't even have, even the marriages happen and they don't even go off, they're on their honeymoon. Like they're clean books, and I don't have language or any of that either. I just feel more comfortable like that. So
yeah, so it's basically you're trying it out, and also they're like keywords or something for people that search for that kind of stuff. But
exactly.
yeah, but what I've read of yours, it's they're getting married and all that kind of stuff, and
yes.
there's nothing.
But there's nothing, no discussion of any past history or any future or anything that's anything but clean in my books. That's just where I feel comfortable. That's the line I'm comfortable with, and so.
This is book 2 of the Time of Your Life series. So do we meet Natalie and Brady in the previous book, and were they always meant to end up together?
They're definitely in the first book, and in fact, they play a pivotal role in getting the main couple from book 1 together. But I wasn't necessarily planning their story. Originally, I had in mind that the Time I Kissed My Brother's Best Friend, that it would be just a standalone, and that the cousins that overlap and end up in Apple Valley. But as I was writing, as you know, when you're writing, sometimes characters just kind of speak to you and they want to tell their story, and I couldn't get them out of my head. So I wrote the entire Apple Valley love stories, all 4 of those books, and a novella for that, and a novelette for that, knowing that I wanted to come back and write Natalie and Brady's stories. So this one's been simmering for 2 years that I've been wanting to write it. So it means a lot to me. I'm very excited to finally, and now I'm going to stay in Abbeville, New York for a while and write some of the cousins and the other sisters and their stories too. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we've got some early reviews that are coming out. My Bookish Heart says, this is my favorite Julie Christianson book yet. Well, that's amazing because it's got to beat the McCoy ones.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I absolutely adore the combination of all the tropes, the setting, the characters, the romance, the depths, the heart that can always be found in her stories. There was just so much to love about this book. So how do you manage to balance the comedy and the depth with the depth? Because sometimes with comedy, you've got to like, your characters might be a little bit exaggerated or quirky or awkward, but you're wanting that depth as well. So how do you balance that out?
I think that the best situation for me is that my husband and I are, sense of humor is what I love about him the most. And we joke around all the time, and it's just very natural for us to we have a sense of humor in our marriage and in our relationship. And so I've always kind of seen humor as part of love and romance. And so it's really natural for me. I don't have heavy stuff in my books. I think that I really try to get deep with the emotions and the love and what their feelings are for each other. But so there's where I try to get the depth of emotion and getting underlying why they're actually falling for each other and what they need from each other that they don't realize at first, usually, right? There's something that they don't even know that they need that the other one is giving them. And by the end, it's natural for them to be together. But then in the meantime, comedy comes naturally to me because my husband's hilarious and we're always kidding around. And I grew up watching, comedies and reading comedy books. And so it's just the humor comes naturally and I love it.
I love it. That's awesome. So if you're watching this, comment below and tell us one of your favorite comedic moments that you find in a book or on like the Dick Van Dyke Show. Like Laura's faces are hilarious, or Barney Fife on the Andy Griffith. Like, tell us your favorite comedic moment. Comment below. Let us know. You never know, it might just spark some ideas for our rom-com authors here.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so let's dig deeper about your creative process. So you told us how your characters speak to you and you have ideas brewing and you try to include them. But when you're planning out a series, so when you started out this series, was it just something organically that happened, or you thought you had some plans, and how do you develop the story for each individual book?
So for the first series I did was the Apple Valley series, and that one came from my experience working at the libraries. We have 2 public libraries in our city, and I was working at both of them. And the whole time I was working there, I kept thinking, this would make a great setting for romance. And I didn't know of any novels. I didn't know of any romance novels that were set in a library. And so I had the idea of wanting to write a series where there was someone who was like a security card monitor, someone who was a library page with the books, someone who was a librarian, someone who did working at the circulation desk. So I wanted to have different characters that played roles that I saw, either I worked myself at the library or that I saw other people. And that was sort of my idea of the inspiration for the Apple Valley series. And one of the characters in there has triplet sisters. And so I decided that I would have them end up in the next series. So the next series is going to be those triplet sisters getting their stories. I'm really excited for that too. So yeah, just sort of, I don't have it all planned out. I definitely am not. I'm a discovery writer or a pantser, if you put it that way. I don't have things all plotted out. I just have, sometimes I'll write a blurb as a guideline, and I'll have a title and I'll know what the tropes are, but then the book sort of takes off on its own and the characters take over for sure every time.
Okay, well, that's very interesting. So you've got an idea and you sort of know your characters because you know they might have been from another book, so you're writing books for them. But basically you're just hitting the page. You haven't planned out your chapters. This is going to happen. You're just discovering and just.
I wish I had that, but then again, I love the discovery part of it, and things just come to me, and I just love it. I love that it seems to kind of just fill me like a little bit of magic. I love it.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I didn't know that you worked at a library. Like, I read your bio and then like, oh, that makes sense that, you know, because you write what you know as well, like you can do.
Absolutely.
It's quite interesting. I have in my book, second book of I've got a novella series, Brielle and her man trap. The sister in there, the guy's sister, she works at a library, and he goes to advice for her. Like she mentions about book boyfriends, and he's like, "What's book boyfriend?" And she talks about grand gestures, and he's like, you know. So I just sort of make a bit of fun about all this kind of stuff, and then he's researching.
Yeah,
I'm going to do a book on her, and finally, you know, it is quite fun to do a book nerd. You know what I mean? Like a librarian, because the people who read our books, they love books, then they're book nerds.
They do, and they love libraries. Really, really. That was what I was thinking. Why aren't there books about libraries and people working in libraries? So I wrote one. Before.
Awesome. So that's excellent. Seeing that your series, how you develop it, and then you sort of, do you come up with a novella first, or that's something after when you're trying to introduce people to the series?
So the novella that I have for Apple Valley was midway through the series because I joined a year-long promotion, the Sweet and Swoony promotion, and we were all writing clean, sweet novellas, and so I had that as an adjacent story. And then when I finished the series, the brother of the main character in the 4th book had a lot of people chatting about him and wanting to know his story. And I just thought it would be really fun. So I did a little novelette as just a gift to my newsletter subscribers. So anybody who subscribes to the newsletter gets to read Frank's story. And Frank, the female character in that one is the best friend from the novella that I wrote for the Sweet and Swoony. So I have all these crossovers that just seem to work out. And I love that because anybody who's reading is going to hopefully recognize the little Easter eggs dropped in there of like, oh, I remember Sophie from Jill Came Tumbling. So that's fun.
Very cool. I love it. That's awesome. So you've only been, according to your bio, you've only been writing professionally for 3 years. That's amazing. So your books are doing fantastically well on Amazon. What do you feel your strongest marketing technique has been in this like blitz of amazing books?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think probably the 2 things I would say have been most important would be Instagram and a newsletter. When I had a lot of great advice from a friend who, I don't know if you read Clean Regency romance, but a really dear friend of mine was writing sweet Regency romance and saying, I think you would be great at this. And we had been in an online writing group where we kind of all supported each other. I'd always been writing and wanted to be a writer. And so when the library where I was working closed down, she said, "This is the time. You're home all the time. Your kids are just home. Nobody's doing anything." And so she really helped me and gave me a lot of advice, helped me get a newsletter started. And then I went on Instagram, made an account, and started following the authors that were writing the things I was interested in reading. So I was really just, honestly, I Regency isn't my area. I was more interested in rom-com and small town romance. And I just started following authors and bookstagrammers and connecting with them authentically, I think. And so then by the time it came, that all along in the background, I was working on the books and getting my newsletter magnet and newsletter going. And when it came time, I just actually direct messaged some bookstagrammers. I didn't know if that was impolite or what. And I just said, "Hey, I'm taking a chance that I know that you like books by Sarah Adams and books by Emma St. Clair. And would you by any chance be interested in reading the most Cyril McCoy?" And I had a couple dozen of them agree, and they were all really supportive, and it just helped build from there. And having really good covers was really important. I love my covers. My cover designer was incredible. And yeah, so that was it. I just worked at it, and it helped being home, not having to work at the time. I know people who have a lot of young children and a full-time job are my heroes, because I was just home writing in my bedroom. It was easy. I mean, it wasn't easy, you know what I mean, but.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great. Yes. Well, I remember speaking to you about it through Instagram as well, because I found you through Instagram.
Right. I think Instagram is a great place for people to connect to other authors that are doing what they're interested in doing. Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's excellent. So you have quite a bit of support through the Instagrammers, which publish, their reviews and work together.
Yes.
So you've got that team there, and then you've got your newsletter coming. Is that just the two main things, or you do a little bit of extra other things?
Well, I just actually became an administrator in a Facebook reader group on Facebook called Clean Romcom Readers. And it's been around for a few years, but they had some administrators, some hosts leave, and they took on some new ones. So I'm doing that now, which I'm really excited about, because I didn't have much of an inroad in Facebook, but I would love to connect with people on Facebook. And I think we have over 1,000 readers now that are following that. And I'm looking forward to chatting online with them on Facebook. And I've tried TikTok. I do a little bit of that, but it's not really my scene.
I was going to ask you about that, because I did see, you on TikTok, and I was also around the same time. We're all trying it out.
Yeah, I tried it, and I mean, I really tried it. I did TikToks every day for a year, and so I had a backlist of them that I would start to reuse with different sounds, different music. And it's just so hit or miss. I would have 1,000 views, and then I would have 100 views. And it was the inconsistency and the disconnect. I didn't feel connected to people. And that for me doesn't keep my heart going, if I'm not connected. I know some people, it works wonders for them and they really connect on TikTok, but that wasn't my experience. I felt connected on Instagram. So then I started using my TikToks and repurposing them as reels. Nice. And that's been great. So that's nice. The effort was never wasted. I feel like everything I do, it's either successful or I learn something from it. And that's kind of how my last 3 years have been.
TikTok has some good, the templates or whatever that it's quite easy to use, and you can download it and put it on Instagram. Like I would use it and it would go off on Instagram, but more views, and then less on TikTok, or vice versa. It was.
Yeah. I heard somewhere that Instagram Reels is better for exposure and getting people to follow you and see you and like know that you exist, and that TikTok's better for sales. So those are both valuable. It just depends on where it works better for you. So I think that the sweet, clean rom-com audience is not huge on TikTok. It seems like it's more of the darker romance, the steamy stuff, which just isn't what I can do. It's not my wheelhouse. So
Yeah, that's it. Got to find where you fit. All right. Well,
yes.
getting back to your writing. So what do you prefer to do? Writing on the computer? Do you do handwritten, voice to text? Do you dump go for thousands of words or just like 500 a day? Do you have any plans, and how do you do that?
I write almost exclusively on my laptop. Every once in a while, if I get ideas, I'll type in my notes app on my phone. I don't typically write longhand. And I have been trying to do a word count when I'm drafting, where I'll have maybe set a goal of 2,000 words a day or something like that. But then I do find sometimes that stresses me out and gives me anxiety. So I think what I'm trying this time is, at the beginning, at least when I'm learning the characters as a discovery writer, is to set a really minimum, just say 250 words, that I can do in an easy, no pressure whatsoever. And if I just do that every day for a few days, I'll start to learn the characters, right? And I think that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll get to beef up and be like, okay, now I'll do 3,000 words a day. I'd like to be able to draft in like 6 to 8 weeks before going back to edit. So that's my plan.
I'm so impressed.
Like I said, no other job, no small kids.
Yeah.
And it makes a world of difference for me. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, I write historical, so and I'm also a slow
historical.
writer anyway.
That's the amount of research and the time, and then those are like 100,000 plus words, right? Yeah,
Right.
at least.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed by that.
It's a mutual appreciation here. So, and I also like the discovery writer. That sounds like cooler than pantser for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
what is something your readers would be surprised to learn about you?
Probably that when I started writing this series, I didn't know if it was going to be small town contemporary romance or rom-com. And I'm so branded and so leaned into the comedy now that people would probably be surprised to know that I didn't know yet. I was writing it for the first time, and I sent the first draft to a story editor, and I even had mock-ups of my covers done, whether it would maybe be small town romance or rom-com. And my editor said, "Oh my goodness, you are 100% rom-com. You need to embrace that and let that be the thing that you do, because if you don't, you're going to be holding back on the comedy, and it's going to not I wouldn't have fit as a contemporary romance," was sort of her point. You need to go all. So I don't know. I think that's funny that now it's so natural for me, and I'm so entrenched in the rom-com world, and I wasn't even sure that was what I was going to be doing when I first started. So
that's excellent, because there's a lot of people, they're thinking rom-com's so popular, and then they're really contemporary romance, and then they try to squeeze into that, but it just doesn't work. It's sort of good that it is sort of a natural thing.
Yes, it was. And honestly, 2.5 years ago, rom-com wasn't as hot as it is now. It seems like a lot of people are, and I love it. I mean, the more the merrier, and it's giving a big spotlight to the genre. But I feel like there was a smaller pool a couple years ago, and now it's like a lot of the illustrated covers coming out, and people recovering books and leaning into their humor roots. So good for them.
Yeah, that's excellent. So what's coming up for you? You've got the book one, by the time this goes to air, is out. So the Time of Your Life series, are you working on book 2?
I am, yes, I'm drafting that. I have a project I actually am, there's a novella from the Apple Valley series that I'm going to be publishing. It was from the Sweet and Swoony promo, and I'm going to be publishing that in probably the beginning of June. And then I'm thinking about maybe doing an Apple Valley Christmas. Maybe I'll do an Abbeville Christmas instead, but I love to go back and visit Apple Valley. So I want to do a novella for Christmas maybe. So those are the things I'm kind of working on right now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, real quick, tell us your Instagram handle and where we can find you online.
So my Instagram handle is Julie Christianson Author. And on Facebook, I'm Julie Christianson Author. And my website is Julie Christianson. And TikTok, I'm Julie Christianson author. So pretty much Julie Christianson author is my standard. And then also, if anybody wants to join the Clean Romcom readers on Facebook, you can find us there. I'll be there. And yeah, I'm always around and love to chat and connect with people. So this has been so much fun. Thank you for letting me ramble. I talk a lot. So
Well, thank you for joining us on Behind the Story.
thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. So remember to connect with Julie and follow her on Instagram or in her Facebook a group. But we also got that giveaway for her new release. So the link is in the show notes. So don't forget to enter.
As always, we have freebies. A lot of authors do actually. If you sign up for their newsletters, not only do you get to hear about their upcoming books releasing, but also you usually get a sneak peek. So I know Julie's got one. I've got one, a biblical fiction, and that's about Balaam and his talking donkey. And that's actually what I'm doing for my first audio. And Lisa has a freebie as well for you.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, Fake Engagement Mistake, you can get it in an ebook or audiobook from my website for free. And the link is in the show notes.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Behind the Story. Until next time, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. Thanks for joining us.